Very good morning, class. So today we are starting this new week with a new excitement, with the new hopes, and with the new things in our life. With that, I really want that we should continue our chapter which we started from the book Snapshot, that is Birth, written by A J CRONIN. So till now we have discussed about it at how Dr. Andrew Manson he had basically came with Joe Morgan to give the medical aid to his wife because she required the help of a doctor before the time period as she was about to deliver a child. So we are on page number 67. I'm going to read it from here and let's try to understand. So the last thing we read about it at how doctor was in his own thoughts about his girlfriend Christine and about the marriage relationships and how Mrs. Morgan's mother came in front of him. So I'm continuing from the next page here because Mrs. Morgan's mother, she interrupted Andrew Manson from his thoughts. Susan said not to give her chloroform if it would harm the baby. She is awful set upon the child, Dr. Batch, he told. His eyes warned at a sudden thought. Her old eyes warned at sudden thought. She added in low tone, "Oh, we all are fancy." He collected himself with an effort. "It won't do any harm, the anesthetic," he said kindly. "They will be all right." So Mrs. Morgan mother asked that my daughter really wanted that she should not be give that anesthesia or the chloroform because it can harm the baby. So doctor assured him, assured Mrs. Morgan's mother, doctor assured her basically, not him here, that there would be no side effect of the chloroform. If it would be required, he would give. Here the nurse's voice was heard calling from the top landing, and they glanced to the clock, which now showed 3:30. He rose and went to the bedroom. He perceived that he might now begin his work. So as he was discussing this thing with Mrs. Morgan's mother, suddenly midwife, the nurse came and she called doctor. So he went upstairs because he thought now there's a time to give the medical aid to deliver a child now, and the time was 3:30. An hour elapsed. So he started the things, giving the medical aid for an hour. It was long, hard struggle. Then, as the first streaks at dawn strove past the broken edges of the blind, the child was born lifeless. Yes, it's very important here to understand. After an hour, when the baby delivered, actually, the baby was born, but unfortunately, the child was lifeless. The child was dead already. So doctor was confused what to do because although that having the child is a feeling of some happiness, the joy, but unfortunately that child was lifeless. Even he was collapsed, or even he was shocked at that time. Now when generally what happened that when a baby borns and unfortunately when the baby is lifeless, doctor needs to double up the efforts to do something because some of the times baby respond little late. So doctor needs to give something else, the another medical aid. But on the other side, what happened? Mrs. Morgan, basically her pulse rate was dripping. So he was in dilemma whether to help the lifeless baby to give the life to dad, or to help the mother who was becoming pulseless. So obviously he needs to give the help to the one who was in life right now, that is mother. As he gazed and the still form of shiver of horror passed over. So this is very important. So there was a shiver of horror. He was shocked. Andrew, after all that he had promised, his face heated with his own exertions, chilled suddenly. He hesitated, torn between his desire. So he's torn between means he was in dilemma to resuscitate the child and his obligation towards the mother who was herself in a desperate state. So he was confused what to do. And he was feeling very bad because he promised Mr. Morgan that he would do everything for them. The dilemma was so urgent he did not solve it consciously. Blindly, instinctively, he gave the child to the nurse and turned his attention to Susan Morgan, who now lay collapsed, almost pulseless, and not yet out of the ether upon her side. So he was not having a time to think upon it, to ponder upon it. So what he did, immediately he handed over that lifeless child to the nurse, and he gave his all attention to Mrs. Morgan mother, who was becoming pulseless. His haste was desperate, a frantic race against her ebbing strength. It took him only an instant to smash up a glass ampule and inject the medicine. So he had that medicine, the injections, everything. He started filling that injection to give the injection to Mrs. Morgan, so that her pulse rate can become normal. Then he flung down the hypodermic syringe and worked unsparingly to restore the flaccid woman. Now, flaccid means pulseless woman. After a few minutes of feverish effort, her heart strengthened, and he saw that he might safely leave her. He swung round in his shirt sleeves, his hair sticking to his damp bro. So as soon as he has given the injection to her, he noticed Mrs. Morgan, Susan Morgan, her pulse rate was becoming normal, her heart was strengthening. So he became little relaxed from her side, and now he started paying attention to that lifestyle. So he said, "Where is the child?" The midwife made a frightened gesture. She had placed it beneath the bed. So he asked from the midwife, "Where's that child?" So midwife immediately made a gesture, as she was also afraid that she had kept the child under the bed actually. In a flash, Andrew knelt down. So Andrew knelt down, fishing among the sodden newspaper. Below the bed, he pulled out the child, a boy perfectly formed. So when he bent down, he noticed that the child was in sodden newspaper, that is the messy, wet newspapers. And now there's a description of that child, how he was looking. A boy perfectly formed. The limp, warm body was white and soft as hollow. The cord, hastily slashed, lay like a broken stem. The skin was at a lovely texture, smooth and tender. The head lolled on the thin skin. Thin neck, the limbs seemed boneless. So it describes that the child was lifeless, white in color. His head was rolling on one side. The cord, everything was like the broken stem. So this is the description about it. So while looking at that child, while picking up that child, he noticed the how that child was looking like, and what happened next, that we will read it in the next class. So I really hope in today's class it's clear to you that how he gave the assurance to Mrs. Morgan's mother that there would be no harm from chloroform. Then midwife called him for an hour. He struggled. The lifeless baby was born, and he was in dilemma. But first he gave his attention to Susan Morgan, and then to that lifeless child whose description was given. So I really hope it's clear to you. If you're having any doubt, you can clear it out and send the worksheet timely. God bless you all. Thank you.